This video is going to go over writing quadratics in graphene form. Please make sure you're taking notes on this, pausing the video, rewatching parts when you don't understand it, and take your time watching this. All right, so first thing, we've learned that standard form for a quadratic looks like this: y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, today we are going to work with something called graphene form. All right, and you definitely need to write this down. Graphene form of a quadratic looks like this: y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. And in graphene form, the h comma k, if you write that, are the coordinates of the vertex. Okay, so this is graphene form of a quadratic. Today we're going to be writing our equations in graphene form. Okay, so just real quick again, make sure you're writing this down. Graphene form looks like this. We are going to try to rewrite our equations from perfect square form to graphene form. Once it's written in graphene form, we can really quickly, find the vertex, okay? Because all we have to do is find, once we have it, we have to find h, okay, and k, and then we can just write the coordinates. All right, so here are the steps when you are writing something in graphene form. First thing you need to do is you must complete the square first. Okay, so if I give you an equation of a quadratic, first thing you got to do is complete the square. We know how to do that, so you don't have to write this example down because you know how to do it, but just make sure you write, you must complete the square first. So I took this problem, I completed the square, here's what I have. Okay, so it's important you get that done first. Second step, then you need to make the quadratic equals 0. So right now it looks like this. I completed the square. What you want to do next to get it to graphene form, it's pretty easy, is you're just going to move this 2 to the other side now. Okay? So to move it to the other side, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now here's what it's going to look like. X plus 3 squared minus 2 equals 0. All right, our next step is to write that equation in graphene form. So basically all we do is where that 0 was, you can put a y, okay, equals, I don't really have anything for a, I don't have a variable for a, so all I'm writing is this x minus h squared, and I had, inside my parentheses, I had x plus 3 squared, and then plus k, I think I had minus 2. All right, so it's written in graphene form. All right, now here's the very, very important part. We need to find the vertex. Now, the vertex is written as h comma k. All right, now here's the kind of tricky part. So I'm going to write the vertex. All right, so when I write the vertex, do you guys notice up in graphene form it says x minus h? When I wrote mine, I have a plus here. I need to kind of change that so it's in graphene form. I can rewrite that so there's a minus sign right in the middle as x minus and then negative 3. Now, these are the exact same thing. X plus 3, x minus negative 3, because I could add the opposite. So it needs to be written in that form because look up here, it says x minus h. So now the vertex part, the h part, is right here. It's that negative 3. That's the tricky part. Okay, the k part is pretty easy. It just says plus k. Well, that what it's going to be. If you want to change it again, you could change it to plus negative 2. This would be the same thing, right? So k is negative 2. So here is my vertex. Negative 3, negative 2. All right, now that we have our parabola in graphene form, we are going to be able to graph it pretty quickly, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, to graph, you're going to be using basically 2 things. Okay, you're going to be using your equation written in standard form, so you're going to want to always look at that, and in graphene form. So I'm going to start with the vertex. Okay, on the last page, I found that the vertex was negative 3, comma, negative 2. So right away, I can add that to my graph. Negative 1, 2, 3, negative 2. All right, there's my vertex. Now, another thing that's really important is we know the y-intercept, okay? We can find that by going back to our original equation written in standard form. My y-intercept is 7, so I'm going to come put that on my graph. Okay, now, you guys know when you have a parabola that, I'll just draw one over here. Wherever the vertex is is actually a line of symmetry. So it kind of lines up. If there's a point right here on this side, it has to be the same distance way over here. If there's one here, same distance over there. Okay, so it kind of lines up. That's a line of symmetry there. So what I'm going to do here is, if I know that there's a point right here, there has to be another point somewhere over here the same distance apart. So what I can do is I can kind of count, okay, from to the y-intercept over here, it's 1, 2, 3 away. So here's the vertex. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 away, and I got to go up to that 7, and I can put a point. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 away. Okay, there will be a point right over there. Now I can draw my parabola. You need to have 3 points here. Okay, so I always want you to find the vertex, and you can label that -3, -2. The y-intercept, 0, 7, and here's another point I could find that was the same distance away. So let's see, it's -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6, 7. Okay, I have 3 points. Now my x-intercepts, those are down here as well too. We didn't work that out, but you could find those using your completing the square form. You could find that. You could have worked that out before. We didn't. This is what I want you to focus on finding today. All right, let's try one. So I want you to copy this problem down. You're going to need to push pause whenever you need to write some stuff down. And we're going to change this to graphene form. So first thing that we need to do is try to complete the square. So again, remember we turn this into a 0 because we're trying to find x. And we have x squared plus 8x plus 10. All right, right now, this is not a perfect square, so we need to come over to the middle term. We need to take half of it. Half of 8 is 4, and then square it, which is 16. So I want this term to be 16. Right now, it's only 10. So I'm going to need to add 6 to this side and to this side to keep it equal. And let's see what we have. We have 6 equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, now I'm going to factor it. It's a perfect square trinomial. So I have 6 equals, okay, it'll factor to x plus 4 and x plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it one more time. I have 6 equals x plus 4 squared. Okay, now for graphene form, you want to get this side over here to equal 0, so I'm going to move the 6 over here. It's pretty easy. I'm just going to subtract 6 from both sides. So now I have 0 equals x plus 4 squared minus 6. Okay, finally, we can just change this back to a y now. Y equals x plus 4 squared minus 6. Okay, now, it's in graphene form. The only issue with it is when you try to find the vertex, remember, graphene form looks like this. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The only important part is it's minus h in the middle. We have plus h. So if I kind of rewrote that, I could rewrite it as y equals x minus -4 squared, and then minus 6. You can keep that. That part's fine. So if we look here, now I can see it's got the minus sign and then -4. This is the same as plus 4. So my vertex is -4, -6. Okay, I'm going to be using that on the next page when I try to graph it. All right, so I know my vertex was -4, -6. I'm going to put that on my graph first. Okay, looks like it's down here. All right, now if I go back to my original equation, I know that the y-intercept is 10. So I'm going to come up 10. That's way up here. There's my y-intercept. Okay, now remember, a parabola has a line of symmetry right through the vertex. So if I kind of even want to just draw a little dotted line, there's my line of symmetry. Okay, so right now, I'll just kind of point this out. It's 4 away from here right now. So on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4 away, there's going to be a point right there. Okay, so I went 1, 2, 3, 4 away. Okay, now I can go ahead and connect my parabola, draw arrows on the top because it keeps going. I'm going to label my vertex. I'm going to label my y-intercept. And I'm going to label this other point over here too. Looks like it's -8, 10. Okay, so that would be the coordinates of the other points. And I just graphed my parabola by writing it in graphene form and using the standard form as well. And to get to it, I had to write it in I had to complete the square. So I used kind of everything we've been learning to put it all together to graph this parabola. All right, now this next problem, you do need a calculator. So I want to kind of show you one that's not quite as nice, but it still works. So I'll copy this one down. Y equals x squared plus 5x plus 2. All right, first thing, we're going to try to write it by completing the square. So I'm just going to have that equal 0. All right, I'm going to look at this middle term. I'm going to take half of it. Half of 5 is 2.5, and then I need to square it. So go ahead, square it. 2.5 squared is actually 6.25. So I want this last term to be 6.25. Right now it's only 2. So I'm going to need to add 4.25 to both sides. Okay, so here's what I have. 4.25 equals x squared plus 5x plus 6.25. All right, now my next step is I'm going to try to factor it, okay? So I'm going to have x and x, and remember the little hint I gave you yesterday? Whatever half of that 5 was, that's what's going to go right here. It's 2.5. So it's going to be plus 2.5 plus 2.5. Okay, oops, and I forgot my equal sign. All right, so I'm going to rewrite it one more time. 4.25 equals x plus 2.5 squared. Okay, now to get it into graphene form, remember we want this side over here to be 0. So I'm going to subtract 4.25, and over here I'm going to subtract 4.25. So now here's what I get. Y equals x plus 2.5 squared minus 4.25. All right, now if I look at that, I need to find the vertex. Now remember, graphene form is like this. Okay, and remember it has to be that minus h. You don't have to rewrite it. If you can just tell, this needs to be negative 2.5 then. So my vertex is negative 2.5, comma, negative 4.25. All right, so there is my vertex. Now, you might say, well, you can find the y-intercept too. What if you want to find the x-intercepts? Well, if you want to find the x-intercepts, you need to come back to this step right here and just solve this. Okay, we didn't do that right here, but that's what we did we did yesterday and the day before. We completed the square and then we solved this. So you can find the x-intercepts if you want. I'm not going to in this problem, but you would just come back to this step right here and now solve it for x. You would do the square root of both sides, you'd add, so you still could do that. But I just wanted to come this far. Here's my vertex.